Ugh. Try this thing one more time.
To see if you could do it.
Oh, because there's nobody on. Got it. We're going to try this thing one more time. This is the third time. They say third time's a charm. So we're going to try this one more time. Hey, Derek. Hey, Lons. One more time, guys. We're going to try this thing one more time. If not, we're going to have to postpone it until next Tuesday. But this is nothing but the enemy.
But we're gonna get it together. It'll be tonight. Definitely gonna be tonight. But if not, we definitely gonna get it together. So
I'm gonna try one more time. I'm just waiting on her name to pop up. Then we'll get it going. If it does not work tonight, we will postpone to next Tuesday. There she goes. We're gonna try it one more time.
All right.
All right. We hold on, babe. You gotta wait for the weekend.
Okay. We got it. Everybody.
So we have it, Angel. We're gonna wait a few minutes and let the crowd build up back in. But we can bring you on now. We fixed it.
We want to thank the Mind Matter tech people we got on the team.
Thank you,
Felicia.
And thank you guys for your patience.
I see Earl.
Hey, Earl. Hey, Monica. Thank you guys for your patience. JR, this probably was before you because I know you weren't able to get on time, so we late. This is our third time trying because of technical difficulties. I apologize again. We're trying to build back up our crowd. If you don't see somebody that was already here, go ahead and comment their name in the comment section. Let me tag the people that I knew was on. And we're going to go ahead and start shortly because I know I've taken up you guys' time.
We thank you for waiting it out and working with the team, and you know we getting to get it together. But we here, and we definitely gonna have a good conversation tonight. I'm a special guest on my wife's program here because I had some personal things with therapy and depression, so I felt compelled to come on, just throw my 2 cents. Yeah, you know, you gotta be by X, man.
All right, I'm gonna go ahead and bring her in because I know
we get a little late there.
Yeah, getting a little late, so let me go ahead and bring you in. All right, Angel. I'm adding you now. Just go ahead and accept. Love you, Earl. All right, it says adding. Angel, I sent you an invite. If it asks you, I think you probably have to go ahead and there you go.
Hey.
Hey, okay, now I got a glare. All right, we're gonna figure this out. Hey, folks.
Thank you so much for bearing with us.
Listen here, anytime. Please, this will be me on any other day. I'm so technically, I don't know, I guess my age shows, I feel sometimes. Like, I need any assistants out there want to come show me Facebook. I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah, we may send our lady your way. Thank the Lord for Felicia and my brother Lorenzo. They have helped us.
Yes, please, because they was like the phone. I'm like, okay. Speaking of which, let me put the charger in. Otherwise, y'all be like, wait, where'd she go? I'm one of those people. It'd be the end of the day, like 10%. Like, you don't ever charge your phone? Like, listen here.
Yeah, I let mine burn all the way down, and Alan always gets that through. So thank you guys for joining in. Again, this is My Matter. We have with us tonight Angelique Lawrence, and correct me if I'm not saying it correctly.
You said it right.
Okay, and we also have my husband, Alan Mitchell. So tonight we're going to be talking about mental health. And Angelique is Alan and I's family therapist. We go to her when we're going crazy.
and I will say, yes, she is a licensed therapist. A lot of people, try to provide therapy, not licensed therapist, but she is definitely professional licensed therapist. We've been seeing her for, some years now. Very beautiful person, very loving, and actually listens, to you. I feel like, and I've been to other therapists, and it's like they hear you, but they're not listening to you. And I can honestly say she's one that listens to whatever you have going on, and this is very honest. So she's definitely legit.
And puts me in my place when I need to be put in my
place. Yeah.
I'll leave out mad, but then I always come back to her.
Oh, thank you guys. I love it. So I was hoping today was a bit more interactive. I love interacting with people and hearing their feedback. So I did try to post the second time around the question for today, like what are some of those stigmas that's out there that keeps people from mental health? I know 2 or 3 had responded, but I couldn't get to it to see what it says. So I'm going to ask you guys to kind of read whatever pops up in the comment section.
Okay.
Mind Matters family, I do want you to post. I will stop whatever I'm saying to answer questions. I really want it to be more of you get what you need and not just me giving this lecture. So please post whatever questions you have. If I have an answer, I'll answer it. If I don't, I'll tell you, I don't know. I gotta look that one up. But I do want it to be very interactive. So I did do some homework. So basically, I'm going to jump right into it. So we have 3 major stigmas that go along with mental health, right? We always have what the public says, right? The negative connotation that goes along with public. And if the public says if you have a mental health, then you must be crazy and you can't get the help, or they're just going to lock you up. We have the self-stigma that we put on ourselves, like, oh, I can't do it. Oh, something's wrong with me. Oh, I'm no good, and then we have institutional stigma, right? So we also have what we think of what's out there. And then we have family, which kind of comes into public, but still even family stigma, right? So that's the biggest one, especially for us minority, is the biggest stigma that's out there. We grow up with, oh, why would I pay somebody to tell them my problems? They can't help me go through it. If they haven't been through it, nobody can help me. My best one, I'll take it to Jesus. He's the best one that's going to help me. And I named my practice why it has Christian in there is because of that. And so I tell people when they're just like, I'm going to take it to Jesus. And I go, well, are you listening? Because we say we'll take it to him. But I always go, well, are you listening to what he says? Because you can lay everything at his footstep. But if you ain't listening to what he says, then you're still not doing it. And even in that, you still need help, right? So we need somebody to talk to. So I'll talk to my pastor. I'll talk to my best friend. Well, sometimes their opinion is biased, or what they're going to tell you is not very clear. You want a third party who's able to, and you want a good third party. I always tell people, let me put my disclaimer out there. I always tell people therapy should be like a doctor. Just because you go to one, if it doesn't fit, find another one.
Right.
You don't hang around just because. And I hope you don't hang around your doctor just because, well, he's the doctor, he should know better. No, I disagree with my doctors all the time. I think they get sick of me. But no, challenge your doctor, challenge your therapist. If it's not a right fit, find a different one. It's so important because here it is that you want a third party to listen to what you're saying and help you figure some things out, help you navigate that. I tell my couples when they come through the door, if I didn't piss you off, I didn't do something right. Because the whole purpose is because you came here thinking everything was great, but you knew it wasn't great. So you got all these elephants in the room. And so my job is to point out the elephants and go, okay, well, let's deal with them. And if I'm not doing that as a therapist, you want a therapist to do that. You want them to be able to point out the elephants for you guys to fix them. If not, then you're going to continue. You might as well continue what you're doing. So kind of sidetracked real quick because so many things is coming at me. But that's something that you also want to look for in a therapist. Like how do you find a good therapist? Well, you want to relate. I tell clients, I tell couples, I tell individuals, especially when I have kids, I tell them the heartbeat. I ask them, did I pass the test? Because if they can't relate to me in that 45 minutes, there's nothing that I can do for that kid to help that child because they haven't related and want to talk. It's the same thing with adults. If you don't feel connected, then you're not going to want to share your deepest, darkest secrets. And then I always tell people, when you look at therapy, look at it as it's the best breakup ever. You ain't never got to come back. We ain't stalking you. We ain't harassing you. We ain't knocking on your door. You can just disappear. Right. As a good therapist, we kind of like a little heads up to like, okay, bye. But if not, we're used to it as well. So you could go to a therapist, express whatever, connect, and like, all right, I'm done. Excuse me. But to go back to the stigmas, all right? So that's kind of like why people don't go to therapy. We always take on this approach, well, I can take it myself. I can handle it myself. And I always ask people, well, how is that going? How is that working out? Because if you've been doing it for so long the wrong way and it's not working, isn't it about time you do something different? Mm-hmm. And we have to get to the point where we can't let the stigma of our grandparents and our parents and our great-grandparents hold us back from getting help. I will say this, and I love this about it, is that lately, 90% of our kids or young adults from 14 to about 25 are seeking mental health. Okay. They realize something is wrong. And 14 people like, but that's kind of young. But it is and it isn't. At 14, when our hormones kicked on, didn't we feel depressed? Didn't understand what the emotions we had going on? We just know we wake up and we were just mad at the world, right? Then the next 5 minutes, oh, la, 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 things are just great. You know, and our parents are just like, well, what's going on with you? Like 1 minute you take it off my head, and next minute you want to love on me. It's hormones. So at 14, 15, when they kick in, kids are realizing what's going on. What is this? I don't even understand this. So they're seeking answers. And I love the fact is that they're like, well, wait, something's going on with me. And as parents, we have to have that talk. And it's okay. Nowadays, through COVID, there's so many kids out there, even young adults, all of us, right? We're all stressed, anxiety, depression. We love our spouse one day. We can't stand them the next. We're all ready to get out there and be out there in the world. And if not, sometimes also being COVID has brought up other stuff, right? You just like, I didn't know that about my husband, or I didn't know that about my wife. Like, where'd that come from? Right. Like, I never seen that part of you. And the spouse is like, well, it's been here. You just paid no attention to it. Well, stayed locked up in somebody's house for a year in their space. You see a whole lot of things. Right. And so COVID has made some people thrive and some people not thrive. And to react themselves, what am I doing? Who are you? And so how do we have that conversation? Who do we turn to? How do we have that third party? Is there any questions that popped up yet?
Yes.
Okay.
So we definitely got some questions coming up. For Lorenzo, one question that he has is a life coach a therapist?
No. So here's the thing. And I hate to sound biased, but a life coach is not a therapist. A therapist is somebody who's gone to school for at least 3 years and has been trained in doing exactly therapy. So I am a licensed clinical marriage and family therapist. So when I went to school, my whole 3.5 years, my program was a little bit more rigorous. It was nothing but families and couples. A life coach is anybody who's like, well, I can give relationship advice. Let me just say that I can do this. And it's telling you based upon their life experience, whatever they do, whatever they feel. Now, some of them have gone to school, is only about a year or so, 18 months, and they get a certificate. It's not being trained. So in my course of my 3.5-year program, I went to Hofstra University, you can look up my mentor, Dr. Atwood, Dr. Joan Atwood is who trained me. Lovely little white lady. Love this lady to this day. She made her program so rigorous. I looked at her and was just like, can I have my PhD, please? But the difference is just that, is that you have people who are going to school or are learning. They're learning the different techniques. They're learning how to communicate. Sorry, I told you that battery thing was gonna pop up. They're learning different techniques. They're learning how to communicate with you. They also, after they're in school, they go to an internship. So during this internship, they're learning. So I've had a couple of people that I've interned. I'm probably a little bit hard on them, but I'm like, listen, you're dealing with people's lives. So I always tell people, think of a therapist, a licensed therapist, just like your doctor. They had education, they had training, and they trained underneath somebody who knew what they were doing. So when you come to them and you're expressing your feelings and what's going on in your life, they know how to navigate it. They know how to help you with it. With some proven techniques, not something that I YouTubed or something that happened to 5 friends of mine. So that is the difference. Now, people like life coaches because they feel like life coach is not held to an ethical standard. Correct. So they can tell you and they can do whatever because there's nothing binding them. Right. A licensed therapist, I can't. I have an ethical standard that I have to uphold to. So that is the difference. It all depends on what you want. I can't say yay or nay. It all depends on what you want, but that is the difference of somebody who's licensed, who's spent at least 3 years learning and crafting. Plus, every year the state of Virginia makes us take at least 20 hours of additional certification, so that way we stay on top of our craft or whatever it is that's coming out there. So a life coach doesn't have that obligation either. So they don't have to take anything. Every year in the state of Virginia, I have to take at least 20 hours.
Okay. The next question is, can kids go to therapy?
Yes, I love my kids. Every kid who comes to my door, I take them on as mine. I have to tell parents, sorry, they're now my kid. So I love kids. So I am a passionate therapist about kids. I have done over 15 years, especially with middle school kids, that wonderful age that nobody likes, like that middle school kid age. Send them to me. I love them. I'll spend all daggone day with them. Y'all pulling your hair out like I can't stand my kid. They hormone. I love it. Give it to me all day long. But yes, so people struggle with, well, what's too young? So can my 2-year-old be in therapy? Can my 4-year-old be in therapy? They can be in therapy. And I tell people, depends on what are you sending a 2-year-old to therapy for? Is it a 2-year-old issue or is it really your issue?
That's good.
It all depends on what's going on. You know, play therapy is great for kids, depends on what's going on. Kids can experience trauma as well as any adult can. They have a hard time expressing it. But no, I shouldn't say that. They have a very good expressing it. It's just not with words, it's with action. So they're at 3 and 4 and 2. By 5, hopefully you got some words going on here. But it's usually action. So you'll see the behavior stuff that comes out. And that's more redirecting. And so kids in elementary and middle school, most definitely, especially the kids now. I have a couple of kids that are in elementary and dealing with COVID. Like think about it. They went from being social 8 hours a day to being locked up staring at you guys' faces. You guys are not entertaining at all to them.
I know I'm not. I'm guilty of it. But I do remember when we were in session with you, and at the end I asked you when could my daughter start, because I was looking at having her come in to do counseling sessions. So yeah.
So we got two people kind of sort of ask the same question. When you start therapy, is it best to start as an individual or is it best to start with family?
So it all depends on what you're coming for. So it really depends on what you're coming for. If you're coming for a couple, I always take couples together, because that first session, the other person feels like, well, I don't know what they told you. I don't know what she said about me. So when I do couples, I say, nope, I want you both together. So after they get together, if I assess that there's something that somebody's holding back or they can't say in front of the other person, then I might suggest, like, hey, do you want to do something individual, and then bring them back together. So I give them a safe space for them to say whatever they might want to say without the other person, because they know if they say it's going to trigger an argument. But I also tell couples, you've been arguing about this forever. So is it really something that you can't say in front of the other person? Because that also eliminates what's going on. So if there's a person who's just like, well, I need to work on myself. Can I come in first before I bring in the family? Sure. You come in, you talk about what's going on, and then you talk about the family. So I have people who come in individually, and then them and the kid come in, and they work on as a family unit, or all the whole family comes in. and we work on and we talk about all those things that's going on as a family and what can they do differently and how can they operate differently.
Okay. I think that's all the questions for right now, Angelique. If you wanted to, you have something to
Well,
say.
I have a question, and I guess my
Sure.
main question is when it comes to the African American community, why do you think it's so hard for us to open up? Because I know for myself, you know, when I went through my battles with depression and a lot of things after my first divorce, my first reaction was to go to my parents, my mother, my father. And not to say that my parents did not love me, but it's like the response that I received from them, it kind of left me lost. So then I kind of was taking this journey. You know, I went to my grandmother's pastor, and then my mom would say, well, talk to my pastor. And then I was kind of bounced because I was looking for something. And, you know, and I guess why is it sometimes hard for the millennial generation? We may have turned to our, you know, older parents or grandparents to try to get that either advice or love. I'm not saying they didn't give us any positive, but they didn't give us like that. I guess it's hard for me to say good reinforcement response, you know, to make us feel like, you know, stop crying over it, you'll be good, just go out and you'll be fine. And but not the information that a therapist would give us, like how to break stuff down. So why is it so hard for us to just automatically just say, you know what, I need help, I need to go to a therapist, instead of just either say I'm either gonna keep it in or I'm gonna talk to my mother? So why is this so hard for us just to break down and say, you know what, I need to talk to a therapist?
So let's look at that, you know, and some people, I'm going to step on toes and they're going to disagree, but let's look at generational. So we got to go there. We got to go to that slavery. We got to go to that generational where it started, right? So back then there was no therapist. You know, we knew somebody, little John was touched, right? We've heard that word, right? They're touched, or they'll be all right, you know. There's nothing wrong with that. So we grew up denying it. Well, our ancestors grew up denying it, right? It was just nothing's wrong. We're not going to talk about that. So even when we got off the cotton field and as we go, you didn't talk about any of that stuff, you know? And then that other wonderful saying, what happens in this household stays in this household.
Right.
Well, how detrimental even that is when there's sexual abuse going on in the household. You know, little John's touch, or don't go near Uncle so-and-so. Like, don't let me see you. Don't be in a room alone with so-and-so. Right? And we, as kids, we're like, well, why can't I be with Uncle so-and-so? Like, he's my uncle, right? And every excuse came out, right? Yes, he's your uncle, but I said so, right? That other wonderful phrase, because I said so. So the stigma is there because we always have take on, we keep it in-house. We don't let it go outside. We keep it in the house. And as long as we're keeping it in the house, then we're good. Nobody needs to know our issues. Nobody needs to know this. Well, that stops when you go to get help. Because if we know little JoJo has an issue and there's a problem, but I don't want to get help, right? So we can kind of fast forward, right? So we also have little JoJo is acting up in school, misbehaving, not focusing, all over the room, have behavior issues. And the moment somebody says, well, I think he has ADD, I think he has ADHD, or he has a learning disability, right? Because before we even had ADHD, we had learning disability. Oh, no, not my kid. Oh, no. Because what was the stigma around that, right? So if our kids are already labeled, then they want to hold them back. Then they want to put them in special ed. So we've had all these stigmas about our kids and about us that we never looked out for help. We never reached out for help. Because if I say my kid has a learning problem, well, now what medicine you want to put them on? What special ed program class you want to put them on? We already got enough obstacles to jump through. So system-wise, nobody wanted to reach out for help because it's like, you go put more barriers in front of our kids? No, that's okay. We'll handle it in-house. And so in-house means our community, right? We'll go to your grandma, go to grandpa, we'll go to my pastor. And at some point we had to go, wait a minute here. Pastor don't know the answer to why little John is jumping around and he can't keep still. Pastor don't understand that there's a mental health that's genetic, being passed down generation to generation. Oh, he's just a little touched. Oh, he's okay. Autism is huge. And people, I would see people and like, oh no, he's fine. And I'm looking at them like, who fine? He ain't fine. He needs some help.
Right.
Oh, he just, a good spanking will just take care of it. Oh, he just needs some more discipline. Well, how many times you gonna spank him and he still can't get, like, he's not even comprehending what you're saying. So we don't, and it's not just African American. I've had even Indian cultures who will dismiss mental health issues. We all know that it's there, but we'll dismiss it. Oh no, that's okay. He's just a little special. He's just a little touch. He'll outgrow. I love that one. He'll outgrow it. Well, he can't outgrow ADD or ADHD. He does need some management skills to help him stay organized. And if you do it younger, as he gets older, wonderful, because he's learned these techniques. So, but it goes back to why we don't, because we didn't look at that. We can look at COVID, right? Look at our even just regular health, right? How many people, all that stigma that came up, like, oh no, when we go to the doctor, they're trying to kill us off. And there's some truth to that, right? History has shown at every opportunity when it comes to us, either they're not listening to us or they're trying to knock us off. So if that's how we've been raised generational, I'm not doing anything different. But I will say this, I love the fact that you guys, millennials, have realized that advice ain't working.
Right.
I love the fact it's like, that advice ain't working. Let me go over here and see this mental health person. And it still becomes a, shh, don't tell nobody I went to go see a mental health person now. But the fact is that you decide to break that curse and to break that chain of like, I need help. And as much as you guys mean well, you ain't helping. To seek that professional for the help, you know, it's just like you go someplace, you go to the doctor or you don't go to the doctor, right? How many of us have people who will ever see a doctor? By the time they see the doctor, it's too late. Or it's like they died for that. Like they could have just been taking a pill this whole time. It's that same mentality that we have to break. And so I think when it comes to even working, we have EAP programs, you know, where employees have it where it's set up after so many sessions that they're willing to pay for that mental health. So you can go see it before it even hits your insurance, you know. The other piece is, I don't know how many people's in the audience in the military. Let me put my disclaimer out there. I am a military brat. So I'm gonna put that out there.
Yep.
I also have a master's in military psychology. Yes, I spent even more money just to have a master's in military psychology. And so that even is a whole nother can of worms, because I always would debate with my professor, was like, so basically you guys took regular men, brainwashed them to be fighting machines, and then sent them back home again. I said, well, when do we de-brainwash them? Like, when do we reprogram them? And you wonder why suicide rates for the military so high. You wonder why they can't readjust. And then if they go get help, here's the kicker. So I can't get help because it's suicide career. It's career suicide to the back with. It's career suicide if I go seek help. I've had couples come in here for the military and it's like, well, can I use my wife's insurance? I'm like, I don't care whose insurance you use. Can you just please come in here so we can talk about some things?
Right.
But it's 1 or 2 sessions, because it's like, oh, nope, my health care coverage, and we all know which one they're under, will be like, oh, well, make sure, or I get the question, how are you billing it under? What code are you using? And I'm like, well, there's only 3 codes. You want me, what diagnosis am I giving you? Yeah, that one. What are you going to put underneath there? Please make sure it's family stuff. It's sad. Even in the military, they're taught that they can't go to see the mental health counselor. They can't go get that treatment. They can't talk about the fact is that I went from being in the States and growing up that I protect women and children, and you sent me to war where women and children are throwing bombs at me and shooting at me. That now that when I'm back home, I'm screwed up. I'm supposed to love my wife and protect my wife and children, but I just spent how many tours of women and children attacking me? But yet I can't go talk to somebody about to figure this out and to help me understand that my wife isn't my enemy. But when I see her, all I see is that same woman or kid that I was over there overseas that just attacked me. So there's tons of stigma around mental health and getting the help that we need. Go ahead.
So we have another question. That was a great response because I was in the military for a brief moment, and I will honestly say, going through basic training is I would never forget. I talked to one of my buddies. I said, it's crazy. They really teaching us how to kill, and that kind of threw me for a loop. A kid from DC. They throw you out there. They teach you about weapons. They teach you about how to shoot somebody. They teach you. And I said, you really in a position where someone's actually legally teaching you how to get away with murder. And I always thought that was, and I respect the military, everything that comes with it, but it is like you said, when you come out, there is no debriefing mentally, especially if you've done multiple tours. There's no, okay, well, let me sit down with you. Let's talk about things that you've seen. It's, I did my 20, I'll get my flag and my everything, and then welcome back to reality. So I definitely thank you for explaining that, because I know a lot of people definitely wanted to hear that. One question we receive is, are licensed therapists considered clinicians, and can they prescribe?
So a therapist is, and I always say these two wrong, so please forgive me. So a psychiatrist is the person who's able to prescribe you meds, not the therapist that does the behavior. So I could be licensed, and I am, but I didn't do the extra piece to be able to prescribe you a medication. So when you call and you're like, okay, well, which one are you or which one I'm looking, it'll be in the description of more of what you'll see that person do. And so a therapist will have more behavioral health stuff going on, more ways of helping you teach different techniques. A psychiatrist has it where you're coming in, you do an evaluation, and she's diagnosing you, giving you a pill. Your follow-up with them is every 3 months, just to make sure the pill is working and the pill isn't working. Your therapist is like, okay, I'm gonna see you every week, every 2 weeks, and we're gonna sit for an hour. Your psychiatrist is seeing you for 15 minutes. Besides the first initial consultation, she's seeing you for 15 minutes. Give her an update. She keeping the pill the same, or she going up or down on it?
I will agree with it, because I deal with the psychiatrist all day long with my clients, and they only stay with the clients for 5 minutes. You guys spend more time with the client than the psychiatrist.
Yep. So the behavior piece, we spend a little bit more time because we want you to understand what's triggering that behavior. So a therapist wants you to understand, like, okay, you have this behavior. So I'll take anxiety, depression. Everybody loves to toss around these two words. So we want you to understand, well, what's triggering that? So I'll take anxiety. So I tell people, anxiety likes to take you on this whirlwind. So it'll spin you, and it'll have you thinking, I can't do that. That's too much. Oh my goodness. It takes you on this high whirlwind, and you're constantly stuck in your head like, oh my goodness, I can't do this. What's next? What if I fail? What if, oh my goodness. And so as a therapist, I go, okay, well, where does that keep showing up at? What's triggering it? What do you keep thinking about? And then I also say, like, okay, and people's like, it's everywhere. I love that. It's everywhere. It's everything. Go, okay. So, okay, for a second. So with anxiety, I tell people you have to walk yourself through it. So you have to be able to, like, okay, what's triggering my anxiety? Oh my goodness, I'm gonna fail this test. Okay, well, did you study? Yes, I did. How long did you study? I studied for hours. Okay. Well, how did you do on the last test? I actually passed. So why do you think if you put the same amount of study in that you're going to fail this one? It's walking yourself through those steps that you're able, when you get to the end, of like, okay, I got this. Because anxiety takes that worry and spins it real out of control. And then you stay there and you're just like, so then you worried about everything. And it lives there, and it lives in that mind, and it keeps going. The other part of sad part of that is depression. So depression, I say they're cousins, they're best friends. They go hand in hand at times. So anxiety will take you in this whirlwind. And because you're up there and you're just going and going and going, and you get to the point where you're just like, I can't do anything. I'm no good at it. I don't know why I bother to try. Depression goes, hey, you call me? Yeah, let's go party. Let's hang out together. So you went from this high of anxiety to spinning down here. And depression goes, yeah, you call my name. Let me pull you on down here. And so we stay down in depression of like, we don't want to get in bed. We feel like nothing's worth it. Why bother? And so now we got a bigger issue, right? Because of now I got to tell myself I can do it and I need to get out of bed, right? But anxiety and spun us that we went down in depression. So it's all about reprogramming ourselves and re-talking ourselves through it and looking at past experience. So a mental health, that's what we're doing. We're helping you to figure out what's causing these thoughts and how can you change your mind around them. Okay. And handle it differently and look at the situation differently. Yeah. Hope I answered your question.
You did.
And I think that's great because I know like with myself, when I first realized that I felt like I was suffering from depression some years ago, my first thought was, man, they're gonna put me on medication. And I think that's a lot of times that I've experienced or witnessed within the Black community is when we talk about depression and things like that. That's the first thing they gonna pop some pills, and then like as soon as you think about popping pills, you think about that one family member who has been taking pills, and now I'm not gonna be like him, and that's why I know we just basically wanted to have you on because it's not always about popping pills. Sometimes you just gotta talk to people. It's always been great to talk to you, and it's especially for you to kind of dig down into some things. And it's like once you kind of hit that rock bottom, then you kind of start thinking like, okay, well that does make sense. So that definitely did help.
And so I tell people, like that's the difference. So a psychiatrist is going to ask those questions, diagnose you, and hand you a pill, right? But a good psychiatrist is also going to go, okay, now did you find a mental health therapist? Did you find somebody else? Because they also understand that pill is only going to bring you so far. You got to do the work to get you out of that headspace. So I love the depression commercial. I'm sure you probably already seen it. She's carrying around this little face, that little white face, and has a smile on it in her back, because that's exactly what it is. And I laughed at the commercial because it's like, I'm already depressed and you're giving me a pill on top of depression medicine and you're walking around with this smile, right? Because they understand that the pill is only going to do so much. You got to still do the work. You got to still be able to talk to somebody for them to help you figure it out. And the reason why I tell people why you want to go to a therapist, because at the end of the day, I'm not judging you. I don't go home with you. I don't sleep with you. I'm not doing anything. So you spent 45 minutes telling me what's going on. We figured out some different ways. We gave you some coping skills. And hopefully you use them. You come back and say, well, that worked. That didn't work. I can see where I can apply that. Like, well, what about this? And when you're done, you feel like, okay, my toolbox is full for right now. You leave. And hopefully when you leave, you're utilizing it. And when you hit something else, you're going to use those same tools. If you hit something else, like, okay, these tools ain't working, let me call her again. Like, okay, I need some more new tools, or I need to sharpen the tool that I have. It's fine because you have that third party that's not looking at you differently. It's not judging you differently. Trust you me. If you feel like your therapist is judging you, you need a new therapist. Because I'm not going home with all y'all people's issues. When I lock this door, all of y'all stuff stay right up in here. And that's what you want. Right. And you want the help. And you want that neutral party to talk and be able to be like, okay, what's going on? What's this? What's that? And help me figure it out. And like I said, if you find a psychiatrist and she gives you a pill, if she doesn't say to you or he doesn't say to you, do you have a mental health doctor as well or a mental health therapist as well? You have somebody else who you can talk to? Then find a different doctor. Right. Because you want that hand in hand, because they all know. I tell my teens all the time when they come in here with the anxiety and depression, and I can tell the difference for the ones who's chasing the pills and the ones who actually want to do the work. And I tell them all the time, okay, so I approve, I call the doctor and approve that, okay, I say, yes, you have this and you should have this pill. Now what? The pill's only going to take you, if you're here for depression, the pill's only going to move you right about here. You got to do the work. You still got to do the work. The pill is only going to do so much. So show me that you're willing to do the work. And then when your doctor calls me, I'll say, yeah, sure. Or I'll tell mom and dad, sure, take them and get a pill. I believe in a pill of helping kids, but I also don't believe in kids being on something that I know that at the end of the day, it takes work for them to do.
Yeah, that's a
There's
good like
there's an equal balance. So and I share this with parents too, because we have our kids who have ADD, right? And so that's another big stigma, right? Oh, I'm not putting my kid on any medicine. No, I'm not doing that. They'll be all right. So I tell parents, well, what do you want from your kid? Do you want your kid to succeed in life, or do you want them to continue to struggle? Because in that ADHD brain, they are bouncing off the walls, trying to process what that teacher is saying. Yeah. And that simple little pill just quiets down part of all that extra stuff for them to focus. Now, here's the beauty of it. When they're able to focus, we're able to give them the tools that they need. So when their brain is bouncing, they're able to utilize those tools to quiet down the brain. I tell kids, kids don't have to be on ADA meds for the rest of their lives. But you do want them to be on it to calm down the brain enough so they can get the schoolwork and utilize those tools. So as they get older, they don't need the medicine. But which one do you want? Do you want your elementary school kid to continue to fail and not learn the tools or have the tools to focus? Because what kind of person are you setting them up for in real life when they graduate high school? And then I also tell parents, let me explain the ADHD pill. It's like an aspirin. In 12 hours, 6 hours, 8 hours, 12 hours, they done ran it out their system.
Yeah.
That's about it.
Yeah.
Compared to a drug for depression or anxiety, now that's going to stay with you a lot longer. It's going to have more side effects. So for me, I take all that in consideration. Like, okay, and I have the kid. I'm assessing them like, okay, well, what we're doing? How old are you? What's going on? Because once again, if I go back to that age, right, from 14 to 25, they're seeking mental health. So my 14-year-olds, my middle school and high school kids, it's a lot of hormones. It's a lot of hormones going on that I don't know how to deal with. I don't know how to cope with. So what happens to just giving some coping skills before we pop a pill?
Right.
You know, and then like I said, I think everybody would want a person who has history of bipolar in their family or schizophrenia in their family to be like, where's the drug doctor? Can you give him some pills?
Now, another question that we had is that, is there always a right answer to every situation?
No, because I tell couples this all the time, and this kind of looks like for couples. I can have 5 couples in a room, and I can just ask them to describe their relationship. It's going to look different for everybody. I always tell them this, like, what's cheating? And everybody will give me a different answer of cheating. And everybody will say, that's not my breaking point in a relationship. Mm-hmm. So if I'm in a relationship where I feel as an individual, that's not my breaking point, something else is, am I right? Am I wrong? Because that's how I choose to be in my relationship. So there is no right or wrong. The whole purpose is to figure out what works for you individually, what works for you as that couple, in order for you to get the better health and move on and to be better. I tell couples that all the time. I was like, none of y'all got the same relationship, and what you value is totally different. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So stop copying somebody else's and thinking, well, that's how we're supposed to be.
Yeah. I think that's the last question in the comment section.
Now, I think I don't know if someone had kind of threw out a question about when it comes to seeing a therapist and insurance. I think a lot of people kind of shy away from it because I don't have insurance, so I can't see a therapist. So is there any advice or information you can give to anyone maybe dealing with that?
So, okay, so that's a good question, right? Yeah. So, it's a matter of just shopping for a doctor as well. So you'll find therapists most of therapists will take insurance. here's the thing, I'll be blunt honest with you guys. When you go see a doctor and he charges you that fee, as a therapist, we don't get paid the same as that doctor's fee. We get paid a quarter less than that. So if a therapist has her fee or his fee set at that price, it's a reason. I'll be honest with you. If you use an EAP, I'm getting paid $60 and I did an hour worth of work. And you went to go see a doctor, psychiatrist who got paid whatever number in front of that $60, right? So insurance company pays. So a lot of therapists have stopped using insurance companies because they're just like, this isn't fair. I'm not being paid. Sorry, Spider came to join us. I'm not being paid that amount. But some therapists will go, okay, well, why am I in this? So I know some people can afford it. I still know some people can't afford it. So some therapists will have their higher amount for maybe the first 2 sessions and then drop it down to a reasonable, right? Or, you know, a fee for a sliding scale fee. Because I didn't touch on this, but the other thing is that Black people come to therapists for a quick fix. I only need 1-2 sessions. I'll be good, right? So, because you don't, how many of you guys have already judged me before I even said a word? I done got judged. I got this. I got profiled. All that wonderful stuff. And depends on what I said. If it's something you've already heard, I already heard that. So you know what? I ain't coming back. I'm good. So you can pay. You can ask therapists. Some therapists won't bend or budge on their fee. But like I said, that's because at the end of the day, with the insurance company, I made between $60 to $80. That's it. So if my fee, and I know I'm worth more than that, so I might not budge on my fee, my out-of-pocket fee. Some therapists will be like, okay, like I said, the first or 2, you pay my fee, and then if you keep coming, I'll drop it down to the sliding scale. So it all depends. Down here, I'm originally from New York. So down here, everybody screamed insurance, insurance, insurance. When I was practicing in New York, I didn't take insurance. I charged a flat fee. And people came and people paid it. I tell people this, if you want the help, you'll pay it, right? Right. You go to McDonald's or Chili's or wherever else when you want to eat out and treat yourself. You'll spend all this money for everything else. Why not spend it for your mental health? Right. And so when your therapist or you find a therapist is like, she wants $200 an hour. Well, think about it. I know I have a deductible. So when I go to the doctor, I get a surprise bill. I know for 1 session, I paid that and then some. And I've been in the doctor's office for 15 minutes. Like, can I get a full hour? Like, we give you a full 45 minutes to an hour.
Yeah, to sit and listen to you talk and give coping skills.
Right? So, and I get that it adds up, but you pay that and more to a doctor who you saw for 50, if you got 15 minutes, because you're lucky if you get 15, you get about 5 to 10. So and that's why I said it goes back to, you want to be able to relate to that therapist and understanding that this is a job that is, you have to do it because you love it. I tell people teachers make more than us. Yeah. And it's like, it is, because like I said, the stigma of it as well, right? So we didn't go to mental health. We're at the bottom of the totem pole when it comes to priority. Well, the paycheck resembles it the same thing. The next time if you go, you can look it up. You can even call, I'll tell you what, all you guys have insurance. Call up your insurance company in the morning and be like, if I saw mental health, how much do I pay? How much is it paid? And they go, well, you're going to see one in network? Say, yes, I'm going to see one in network. I tell you what, you can all look me up because I'm on all of them anyway. So you can look them up and you can call them like, how much is my in-network fee for this? How much is my out-of-pocket? And you all had a bill from your doctor because we all went, right? Some COVID scare or just health, whatever. And you've seen that bill. And who spent more time with you? Who's more invested in making sure that you are well? Right. Your mental health is underserved. So if she's charging that fee, it's still cheap, but you're paying for her or his time. Right. And if you make the commitment, I don't see any therapist who might not help you. If you're just like, well, doc, it's been a month and we're still not finished, but this fee is killing me. Can we do something? I'm sure they'll put you on a sliding scale and do something because they understand what's the bigger picture.
Right. And I will say, with me, because at first I had a big stigmatism on going to see a therapist. Alan will tell you he kind of is the reason why I seen you. I think you was my second one when I started seeing a therapist. And I told him, I was like, look, I'm not going. I'm not crazy. I'm not going to see a therapist. But I will attest to the fact that once you find one, the money is well worth it for you to sit on somebody's sofa, tell them what your problems is. And even with you, Angelique, you have gotten to the point where I guess I laid out all my family issues with you, and you diagnosed things that I couldn't even see. We both were in the office crying, so I say it's really really well worth it, no matter how much the cost. And like she said, if you find somebody that's good, they'll work it out with you.
And to kind of piggyback off of what Sheree said, and I got your shade too. I got your question too. I'm just as a real quick question. When it comes to someone, especially, I know when I started, I'm not gonna lie. My first thing is if I'm gonna see a therapist, I'm gonna see a black person.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna see a black person. That's that. And the thing is, I'm not. It may not be an African American that's is best. So is it any particular? I mean, is there anything particular that you would tell? Since a lot of us, on the live are African Americans, is it not just about, hey, I want to, since I'm African American, I want to find an African American therapist? Is a thing where, hey, white therapist can help you, Indian therapist can help you. It doesn't. You don't have to stay in that bubble of being wanting to find an African American therapist.
I would say it depends on what you're going for, because there are certain things that you feel like that African American can relate to, right? But just because they're African American doesn't mean that they're going to be good. Doesn't mean that they're going to relate to you. Doesn't mean that you're going to connect with them. I'll tell you a secret. Majority of my clients aren't us.
Right.
And some of them are so far, is it right wing, where they're right, Republican, right wing, so far out there that I laugh sometimes and I'm like, you didn't see my little brown picture on my profile? In here. So to answer your question, and they'll say there was something about your picture. And I'm like, okay. Sometimes I used to go to a picture like, well, what picture is up there? So it's about what you relate to. Yes, as African American, we want to find somebody of our own kind, because when we start talking about stigmas, when we start talking about just how we were raised, we can understand that. But I still say the same thing. If that is your preference, fine. But don't just go because they're black and you think that they're supposed to know. If you don't relate, guess what? Find another black one. We're kind of hard to find, but we're there. So find another one. Don't just stick to one because, oh, she's brown and I'm tired of a white person, so I want to go to them. And do some homework. I'm in Manassas. I found there's another practice that's down the block, and she's black and she has a staff of mixed. There's another one that I was seeing individual for that as a couple, they found another black lady to go to. I'm like, great, because I'm one person. As much as my door is open to everybody, I'm still one person, and not everybody's going to relate to me. My approach is that I'd rather you relate and come here and get the best that you can work on what it is, than you just coming here just to be like, well, I'm here because. Well, don't do me no favors, because I want you to change and grow and be better. And that's what you want. So if that is your target, especially for us, for African American, like I need her to understand, or I need that black man to understand what it is to be pulled over by a cop, and a white man isn't going to understand that, then by all means, find a black therapist. But if you don't relate to that one, please find some more, because we're out there.
Right. Yeah.
Now, we have a two-part question from someone. The first one, again, is how do you deal with treating a child who's clinically diagnosed ADHD and the cocktail given is too strong, where the kid is not active, and then anger is triggered? And the second part of the question is, Why is that Black kids are quickly labeled ADHD and the treatments seem to hurt them?
So you're gonna probably have to, I don't know which question, what part to answer first. So it's not, yes, us as Black men or Black kids are targeted with ADHD kids, and labeled that, but it's more men, more males that are labeled with that. So yes, we are the Black ones that is, and then, but it's definitely men, the young boys that have that label. And I think it falls to a lot of different things. So we have teachers, not like how I was in school, who are there for the wrong reason. You know, they're there for a paycheck. They're there to just have everybody run and do whatever they want to. There's a big culture difference between New York and down here that I was just like, whoo, gosh, you know? So you have a lot of that going on. So if I have the stigma, what I see on TV, then I have this little kid, so little Johnny's not sitting in the class and he's disrupting. So I don't want to reteach my teaching styles. I don't want to change that. I want to change the child. The child should conform to me. Well, I miss when we had good old teachers who understood that, and those kids became teachers' pets. They became things that kids that helped out. They understood that the distraction was because they are not understanding what you're standing up there teaching. So yes, our kids are definitely that labeled, and that's given that part. Read the first part of that question. I told you I can forget one part of it.
It says, how do you deal with treating a child who is clinically diagnosed?
Oh, that's right,
ADHD?
over medicated.
Mhm.
So I tell parents when they come in and like, okay, the kid is like overly medicated, it's clear as day. Like I said before, why are you taking them back to that same doctor? There's plenty of other psychiatrists out there. There's psychiatrists out there that I've worked with that just deal with children. So why are you taking them back to that same doctor? Convenience should not be a reason why you're medicating your child that you keep taking them back to that doctor. Laziness should not be a reason. If you can see that that doctor is not listening to you and you're telling them, because after you've had your first consultation, every 3 months or so, that doctor is asking you, how is the meds? What's the difference that they're on there? What changes have you seen? And I tell the kid and I tell the parent, are you communicating that to the doctor?
Right.
Because the doctor can't do what you don't communicate. So are you telling the doctor, and why are you waiting 3 months? If 2 months or a month and a half that my kid's been on it, after 2 weeks, he's sleeping, he's not, doc, this med you gave him, I think is too strong. Can I cut it in half? Can I change it? What can I do? Oh no, keep it. The doctor's like, no, keep him on it. We just started. I'm going on a waiting list for 5 other doctors. And I'm not continuing my kid on this medicine. Come on, parents.
Yeah.
It's our due diligence to our children. Come on, if you went to the doctor and the doctor gave you something that's not working or not doing what it's supposed to do, you gonna keep doing it? And I'm gonna question you, why are you going to that doctor?
Right.
Why? Just because they went to medical school and they have a robe? Okay, but if they're not treating you or helping you, why are you going back?
Right.
So an ADHD medicine, like I said, and read on the side effects, read what the drug is supposed to do. An ADHD medicine is not supposed to be long-term. It's supposed to, it has a short life cycle that is supposed to leave the system. So it sounds like the kid's on a mood stabilizer and not so much just an ADHD medicine. That's what it sounds like. So if he's on a mood stabilizer, he's going to be angry. That's a side effect. So I need to ask my doctor, well, wait a minute, what are we treating? We're treating ADHD, we're treating anger, we're treating mood. What are we treating? I have a client who is an adult who needs to be on ADHD medicine, who has anxiety, and his doctor keeps treating anxiety, and I keep saying to him, why do you keep allowing the doctor to treat your anxiety? You need to treat your ADHD. Yes, the anxiety is triggering the ADHD, but your anxiety is coming because of the environment that you're in, and that environment isn't going to change. We can't treat your anxiety. It's a downward fall. We have to treat the ADHD. So as a parent, you got to be able to communicate to the doctor. Yes, there's good doctors, there's bad doctors, but I also say, are you communicating with your doctor? The
Right.
doctor doesn't know. If you go in every 6 months or 3 months, he's like, everything's fine, or oh, it's okay. Or it's if you're downplaying it, how does the doctor know to change the meds?
And they also
But
are
that
not going to do any more than what you ask them to do because that makes their job
exactly.
much easier.
Exactly. So if I go into the doctor, if I'm calling the doctor and he's just like, oh, well, let's give it some time. Okay, it's been 2 weeks. I gave it a month and nothing's changed. I ain't giving my kid these meds. And I'm calling other psychiatrists to go on a waiting list. I'm doing some research to find who's a good child psychiatrist.
Mhm.
I'm doing some other things because no kid should be on a medicine where they're that out of it and then angry. Well, wait a minute. What are we treating? Because like I said,
Right.
if you come into my office and that's what you're presenting, I'm like, okay, did you call the doctor? Did you
Right.
speak with them? Did you ask them, can you pull them off of one? Can you change it? Maybe it's not the dosage. Maybe it might be too hot. Maybe it is the dosage, or maybe it's how you're giving it to them. Can we change how it's administered? Can we play with this? You want the doctor to be able to help and communicate with you about those things. And if they're not doing that, you need to find a new doctor. Because like I said, you're talking about, depends on the age of the kid, but you're still talking about a kid who's still developing, still growing, that you're giving a pill to that has significant side effects. And if you're giving my kid a mood stabilizer and I'm coming to you for ADHD, wait a minute here. Why are we giving my kid a mood stabilizer? And what's the
Right.
doses we giving it for? And why can't we try one of these other cocktails or medicines that he gonna pee out or sweat out? Why are you staying over there with the safer ones? They even have this testing that they do for kids and adults. It's like a mouse swab DNA test. And this DNA test takes it and it shows what medicines just for mental health that will work with you. It's like a traffic light. So it's like red, what to stay away from, yellow, okay, green, good to go. And I always ask people, well, ask your doctor, ask your psychiatrist, do they administrate that? Because
Mhm.
my thing is that, so one, it takes out the guessing game of what medicine. And the doctor's kind of up to date to know about this new technique. And it was designed to take away that whole guessing. Well, we're going to start with this pill, we're going to start at this dose, and we're going to do this. And I tell people there is some guessing, right? Because everybody is different. Every kid biologically is different. Their DNA is different. Some metabolism is faster than others. So there is going to be some guessing of what's the right dose. It's not going to
Right.
be this, just like when you go get Advil, doesn't it say between 2 to 3 pills, no more than that? Listen. And it might say warning of no more than 6, and you're just like, well, 6, I still got this headache. Well, let me take 8, right? Or hopefully, or 7, maybe not that much. but because it's just what they can suggest, but we also know our body, right? So it's the
Yeah.
same thing, but it's a conversation you have to have with the doctor. And if you don't think the doctor's listening, find a different doctor.
Yeah.
It's our kids. Find a different doctor. Don't be afraid to be like, hey, doc, with COVID, everybody's on telehealth, right? You can
Mhm.
text message. You can email your doctor at any point now, and they're emailing you back. There's no reason why you can't have that conversation and that open communication with your psychiatrist. And like I said, if it's a child psychiatrist, the 1, 2, 3, I know about 5, all of them have that practice in terms of open communication, wanting to know what's going on. And the first question they say out of their mouth is, who's your behavioral health therapist?
Okay.
That is part of their MO. Who's your behavioral health therapist? Okay, because they understand that. And a parent comes to me and is like, hey, my doctor wants to reach out to you. By all means, yes, have them call.
Mhm.
Did you sign the waiver on their part or my part? I don't care, do both, but yes. Because they understand, is the work happening? And I should see a change also. As a therapist, I should see a change in your kid.
Mhm.
I ask the kids also, do you see a change? They'll say no. I said, really? I said, you came in here before, you can't get out of bed. Are you getting out of bed? Are you taking a shower? Did you comb your hair?
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't want to prolong it because I know it's getting late. And talking about mental health, you can go all day long.
Yeah.
So the one great thing about it is Angelique has agreed to come on once a month. Is that still a okay thing? Yep.
Sure.
That's she will be on once a month. So whatever questions that you have probably for the next month's session, just let us know. And is it okay for me to put your information in the comment section, because I do have someone that wants your information.
By all means,
Yeah.
share. I'm getting there. My share, like, follow, it's all up there. So please do it. I had an assistant. She went back to college, so I'm over here dying. But it's all there. But by all means, share. And if we can do whatever questions that people have, please send them to you guys, so that way I can tailor the conversation around that topic. I'd rather it be you guys getting the information and I have those questions and being able to answer it. And if it's, if it's a topic that's like, okay, well, let's do this topic. I would love to do that.
And did you want to just kind of sort of tell people, I know with COVID went on, how you're seeing it? Because I tell everybody, like I tell people, you're great. Everyone who's watching, this is not, someone we just met, or like a family friend that we're just trying to get out there to get business to. This woman has done great things with me as an individual, me as a husband. Sunday, Shariq and I will be celebrating our 6-year marriage anniversary, and she is someone that has made me realize, and I'm speaking to just the husbands out there, Black men, that made me realize a lot of things about myself that either A, I didn't realize, or either B, I didn't want to have ownership to. And she has definitely helped me become a better man, person, husband. With COVID, I've been working from home for a year now. And in the beginning, I thought working from home was a fun thing, but it's really, it has got to me mentally. Like, literally, I'll tell anybody, I literally sit at home every day. Every day. Only time I go out is when I take Dorian to school. And that really, it messes with you. It really kind of gets to you. It has your mind is kind of bouncing off the walls. So, you definitely need, and the thing is, you don't want to feel that way and then take it out on your family. And that's where I kind of sort of find myself going, and I call Miss Lawrence, hey, I gotta talk to you, but we love you, and we definitely, respect everything that you're doing, and all my family and friends out here, who's watching. Don't get me wrong, yes, we always pray, we always go to God, but sometimes, you need that extra thing. And one thing I can say, Ms. Lawrence, she does hold you accountable. If she gives me something to do, she'll say, well, did you do that? And I can't. I can only sit down and say no. Well, how can you expect some change? You ain't doing it. And I'm like, well, you're all right. So, but for everyone out there, like I said, we want to let everyone know you're doing things virtually. You see people in the office. Or if there's anything you want to close out with.
So I have both. I do in office, as you can see, I'm in my office, and I do telehealth. So people can do either which way. I have been vaccinated. My office is pretty big. I moved up from the last time, the other office that you guys were in.
Oh, did you? I like the other one as well.
I moved up, so now I have 5 offices. So I moved up in the world.
Okay.
So the office that I'm in, so the office I am is 6 feet far enough apart. So it's totally up to however people want to feel comfortable with. I will say this. So there's a reason why there's Christian in my title. It's because I tell people we can talk about God. You have a place that you're comfortable in expressing your faith. I don't deny your faith. I welcome your faith. I've had couples that we've prayed. We prayed the beginning session, the end of session. I've prayed and been on and been preaching at the end of one that at the end of it was like, okay, we're gonna say amen and in session on some notes. I don't quote from the Bible. I don't beat it over your head. That is not where I come from. The reason why Christian is in the title, and I struggle with it, I was like, God, what am I gonna name my business?
Mhm.
And so people was like, you can't put that in there. And God said, well, you ain't taking it out. And so it's been there. And I say that because I am a believer.
Right.
And so when people come, they have that freedom and that space of saying, you know what, I prayed this and I prayed that. And like I said earlier, I said, well, did you listen? What did he say? You know, because we're so quick to pray and ask, but we don't listen. So I don't mind talking about God. I don't mind talking about faith. I don't mind talking about how to pray. I have clients that we talk about how to pray and how we need to pray differently and what we're praying for and what the prayer look like. Maybe we need to change the prayer. You know, I talk, so it's a space that you have. I've been doing this over 20 years. I know I don't look it, right? It looks so good. I know.
Yes, you do.
But I have been doing this over 20 years. Like I said, I started in New York. I've been down in Virginia for 8 years, maybe 10 years now. Gosh. So I have been doing this a bit. So I love my endorsements. I love when people praise on me. I totally love it. I need to get a personal assistant to put it on social media for me. And like, can you Google it? Because I'm just a little pebble over here in the corner struggling, boy. But I say that because here's the thing. I do this because I love it. I love what I do. I love what I do at the end of the day. And because I love what I do and I recognize that it's a gift that God has given me and I cherish it and I appreciate it and I give him all the things that I am able to continue to do what I do. And I don't mind sharing my time. I don't mind sharing. And most clients who come in here are able to recognize that and to feel that. You know, my media person is like, well, you need to be able to show and people come in and love with you in your space. And I go, well, how do you transfer that being in person across a social media page? You know, I'm gonna figure it out. But even like I am honest, I am transparent as much as possible. And I do this because I love what I do. And it's a gift that I recognize and I'm so appreciated for. And so you guys have my information. You guys can reach out. You can Psychology Today, I'll pop up, but it'll be all in there and you can have it and reach out to me as well. Any other questions you have, that's fine. I think a great topic that you brought up is maybe we can talk about COVID and how we are surviving mentally in COVID. And then maybe we can follow up with returning back to normal. Ooh, right? So, like I said, I've been doing this. I love what I do. I'm blessed at what I do. And the Christian part of that is because I recognize where this gift has come from and I honor it and I cherish it. And so I am here for our community. Let's break some stigmas and some barriers and, you know, let's heal together and be together.
Yeah.
And I do give homework, and if you don't do it, yes, I do kind of hold you to your feet, but there's no punishment. It's just a matter like, okay, well, let's work on it together. Like I do walk and hold your hand the whole way through. Cause I tell people when I give homework, I don't expect you to do it. I expect life to come in. But I'm gonna hold your hand through it and we're gonna walk and we're gonna figure it out. I'm not going to leave you alone. We're gonna do it together.
Like you said, it's like for those who don't have like the technology to do it over the Zoom, you know, it's not always about convenience. We down here in Fredericksburg, she was in Manassas before COVID. We was traveling up to Manassas. We just made a day, but you feel good afterwards. So you know you can't see it. I like her, but she's way up in Manassas. And you got to think about the after, you know, and that's the biggest thing. So
well, like she said one time, your mental health is worth it. So yep. But I want to thank everybody for coming on and hanging with us tonight. I know it's late, and I want to thank you too, Angelique. And I will be in touch with you. And safe travels back home because you're still in your office.
Yeah, safe travels.
I am. I'm a bit spoiled. See, God bless me with a space that's like 3 traffic lights from home. So I'll be home in a blink of an eye.
I'm holding her up. She's still in the office.
Yeah, we definitely want to thank you and help working with us today and all the technical difficulties.
Yeah.
And stuff.
That was just the devil, like I kept texting in there. I was like, that's the devil trying to hold us up. He was like, I'm gonna make it difficult. She got a word on her that she need to help these people make some breakthroughs.
And
ain't nothing but the devil.
But we got it done.
That's right. Cause see, I prayed. Y'all didn't even know that. I was on this side like, God, come on now. Your work got to get done here first.
Yep. And I think you stayed there. You ain't give up. We got it done. We was like, look, we don't get it done today. We coming back next week. But we got it done. But I thank you, and I cannot wait to work with you again next month. And we'll try to get some everybody that's in the live. If you have any questions, please get them to me so I can get them over to her so she can try to figure out the answer to your question. All right.
And whatever topics you guys want to talk about.
I do know that grievance is one that we do have on the list, Angelique, for a topic.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh.
Oh, you got something on that one?
Listen, grievance is what we're dealing with right now, right? In the midst of COVID, how many people we lost and dealing with that. And so, grievance is a big one.
Yeah. So if you guys can join us back in another 2 weeks, I'm going to let Angelique go. I think we'll be back on May the 4th. Not with you, Angelique, but we're going to get Angelique's date out there. We'll be back May the 4th with Dr. Smith. All right. If everybody can have a good night, Angelique, thank you for joining us again, and I will see you guys later. Thank you.
Thank you.